Formation have a very good start.
The space race is back, and there's a new contender. In the early hours of this morning, China said it had boldly gone where none had ever gone before, landing, it said, an uncrewed spacecraft for the first time on the rugged and little-studied far side of the moon. The first image of the remote surface shows a crater within a crater, beamed back to Earth via a relay satellite. The Chang'e 4 probe will survey lunar geology, look for minerals, and conduct biological experiments too. Mission Control was delighted.
I think this is a milestone. Humans have never been there, but we did it. This is trailblazing. Building a space power is a dream that we persistently pursue, and we're gradually realizing it.
The far side of the moon has fascinated stargazers for centuries. The view we get of the moon from the Earth is always the same, though, because its orbit is locked to ours. This means that the time it takes for the moon to spin once on its axis is exactly the same time as it takes the moon to turn round the Earth once. Now, the moon's orbit is slightly elliptical, which means that from time to time we get a slightly different view. But 41% of the moon's surface, the far side, is always hidden from Earth's view. This is the conventional view, the near side of the moon, taken by this very telescope at the Royal Observatory in Greenwich.
We can't see the far side of the moon. That's the key thing. We're not going to see that from anywhere on Earth at any time.
China's claim of actually landing a vessel there has put the rest of the world on notice.
We have something on the far side of the moon. It's somewhere we've never been before. We don't know what information we're going to get. It's also part of sort of China's sort of strategy. It's another checkpoint. They've got loads of really sort of amazing ambitions. Maybe fairly soon. In some sense, we might have people on the moon again. So it's definitely an amazing achievement.
Although China's space program started during the Cold War, it was soon eclipsed by the Russians and Americans. But it invested heavily, and by 2013 joined the two existing powers to land a spacecraft on the near side of the moon. Now China appears to have achieved something no other space powers even tried. NASA congratulated them, saying it was a first for humanity and an impressive accomplishment, somewhat overshadowing their own news, a snowman-like photo released yesterday of the most distant object ever explored in the solar system. Frontiers come in all shapes and sizes. The far side of the moon, in space terms, is practically on Earth's doorstep. And it is China who got there first.
Well, I'm joined now from Houston, Texas, by former NASA astronaut David Wolf, and here by Alexandra Stickings, research analyst for space policy and security at RUSI. Alexandra Stickings first, just give us a sense of how much of a milestone you think this is.
It is a huge milestone, and we do need to recognise it for what it is, which is a fantastic technical achievement. What we'll get from this mission and our understanding of the moon, the formation of the solar system, and so many other scientific advancements is just fantastic.
And will it trigger a new space race? I mean, for example, will it pave the way for China to colonise the moon, do you think?
Well, I think using the term space race can be a bit problematic. The space race, as we initially understood it, was between the US and the Soviet Union, and it was during a very, specific geopolitical time with the Cold War. Space has become much more democratised now. We're seeing more states, more commercial actors becoming involved. And certainly China's rhetoric has been very much about the benefits for humanity. We have seen...
You believe that?
There is some part of that, absolutely, and part of their willingness for international cooperation in scientific space exploration. But we do have to also understand what China has been doing closer to Earth with their military space applications.
I'll come back to that. But David Wolf, do you see this as a sort of benign thing? I mean, relations between America and China have been pretty fractious recently. Could this make matters worse, this new race, or do you think it's more benign than that?
I see this as a great opportunity. The place we do want to cooperate as a common globe, a planet, is in exploration, civil space, and in commercialization, the industrialization of the Earth-Moon system. That's already begun. It needs to happen in an orderly way, predictability is crucial to any industrialization. I think it's a fabulous achievement, and it's part of China or any other country becoming a part of the productive international space enterprise.
But I mean, clearly the Pentagon has some worries about what China might get up to in space. I mean, last year they said that China's space program was central to modern warfare. Does that anxiety stir you at all?
So a tool, a fabulous technological advancement can be used as a weapon to destroy, or it can be used as a tool to build. And the goal that we in the United States have is to have such an important, valuable, productive global space enterprise that any country would much rather be a part of that, floating all boats higher, than take part in destroying it.
Well, let me put that back to Alexandra Stickings, because, I mean, China, what do they actually want to do in space, given that, 2007, they tested an anti-satellite missile, didn't they, which sparked worries around the world?
They did. They destroyed one of their own weather satellites as a demonstration of this capability. The problem with it is that it created a huge amount of space debris, which is a problem for all orbiting satellites. They have also looked at developing what we call non-kinetic capabilities, which could disable satellites. And when we think about space in terms of military applications, it's about information. So it's dominating the flow of information from satellites, ensuring that the information gets to them, whilst also looking at ways to disrupt that information flow to their adversaries.
Well, David Wolf, let me ask you personally, would you have liked to have landed on the moon?
Oh, of course. Most people of my generation and would love to any kind of space flight. I was lucky to do it 4 times. I think it's great, though, that I trained in Russia as a cosmonaut with the taikonauts, and we would speak in Russian together, even though I don't speak Chinese, they don't speak English. This is a place in space where we can not bring the battle lines, you might say. We can leave those on Earth. Russia and the United States, other countries have had strains on Earth and met their commitments in space beautifully in the International Space Station, even as far back as Apollo-Soyuz in the 70s. Even in the harshest of the Cold War times, we were able to cooperate in space.
What about Mars, then? I mean, will Elon Musk, for example, beat the Chinese to Mars? He said, I think just yesterday it was, that he'd colonize Mars within a decade, maybe within 7 years. Is that possible?
Well, with a big enough program, it may be possible. I'm not sure you can grow a baby in 5 months by throwing enough money at it, but that sounds a little... To colonize Mars is a bigger deal. But the first steps, the ones we're taking now, are on the moon and in Earth orbit, perfecting the techniques. It's a bigger job than any one country or any 10 countries. And it's better that we go as a unified planet.
And Alexandra Stickings, just a final thought. Do you think that, is Mars the way forward? Is that or is the moon the priority?
I think, as a species, we've always gone to the next level. So we went to the moon. I think we will get to Mars at some point, but I would agree that it's a joint effort. It has to involve international cooperation between states and those commercial companies that are making such big steps forward.
Thank you both, Alexandra Stickings and David Wolf. I'm sorry not to come back to you, but we've run out of time. Thank you both very much.